Yes. We're on it.
Hey, Beth.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see an audience here in council chambers. It's Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. It's 6 p.m. Call the meeting to order and ask our city clerk to please give us a roll call
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Peak,
here.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Here.
Council Members Coletti, Councilmember Coletti,
Here.
McAdams,
Here.
Quaduri,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Here.
All present via in person and Zoom webinar.
I'll ask Councilmember Smith to please lead us in the pledge.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have approval of the agenda. I'll note that item 13A, Youth Commission, has been withdrawn. May I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Amelia, Councilmembers Tomlinson,
Aye.
Baduri, McAdams, Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the agenda as amended.
Next, we have a service award for Joyce Hallaby. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As everybody here knows, this is my favorite part of the agenda when this takes place. Tonight, we are here to recognize 5 years of service from Joyce Hallaby. Joyce is our Deputy Director of Public Works, for those of you who do not know. I'm going to say a couple words about Joyce. Probably ask Dan to say a couple words, and then Joyce can say a couple words. So Joyce came here in 2017 as a program manager to oversee primarily our capital improvement program. She has reinvented the program, creating forms and project sheets, making it easy for the council and the community and the public to learn more about current and proposed projects. She also, of course, is very involved in the daily activities of Public Works and assists every single division with their work administration. In 2019, she obtained her master's degree from Cal and was promoted to Deputy Director of Public Works. She's a member of our PIO team and has excellent communication skills. She excels as a public official. Oh, thank you. Thank you. She excels as a public official, is always excited about organizing a groundbreaking event or ribbon cutting, and is always eager to offer her assistance. And if you ever hang out with Joyce for more than half an hour, you will know she has a fantastic and infectious laugh.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. So I've had the pleasure of working with Joyce for 5 years in Public Works. In Public Works, as you all know, the members of the public know, we do a tremendous amount of things, including recreation, which Joyce helps out with us tremendously. She's an integral cog of the team, and we want to be able to do the things that we're doing around town for the residents, the visitors, everybody that comes into Pacific Grove. If it wasn't for the work that Joyce is doing. So for that, I say thank you. Congratulations to the 5 years.
Yay, Joyce.
I just want to say thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with the amazing staff that comprise the City of Pacific Grove team, the community members, the elected officials. So it's been a great 5 years and I look forward to more.
Great, let's take a picture real quick.
Mr. Harvey, may I borrow that microphone?
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Got a mayor's proclamation for Tama Alvers for mainly her contributions, substantial contributions to our Museum of Natural History. She first volunteered at the museum in 2007 as a monarch butterfly docent because butterflies bring out the best in people. Tama has since volunteered in about every capacity related to the museum, from a docent talking to guests to at the Butterfly Sanctuary to board president and interim executive director. Tama served on the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History Association board, and then the Museum Foundation board and the city's Museum Board, maybe a trifecta there. She's assisted in a very successful capital campaign, participated in the executive search, which resulted in Carla Bitter as our new executive director, and worked towards helping the museum continue to meet accreditation standards for the American Alliance of Museums. And that's just what she does for the museum. She's also a volunteer at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, Point Lobos State Natural Reserve, League of Women Voters, and Library Board. So now be it resolved that I, Bill Peak, as mayor of the city of Pacific Grove, am pleased to recognize Tama for outstanding dedication and service to the people of Pacific Grove. The museum, the community are better off for her many selfless contributions. And I should have had you come up here while I read this to you, but. Oh, and why right now it's really appropriate because she has retired from the board and is the first emeritus board member for our museum. So many kudos to you.
Thank you very much. I'm one of many volunteers and staff members who support our community, support the city and nonprofits locally and beyond, even our community. I think we do it because the institutions we support have real meaning for us, usually stemming from the mission. So for example, for the museum, the mission is to inspire discovery, wonder, and stewardship of the natural world, which is something that draws me in. So as a representative of many volunteers and dedicated staff, I am very honored to hear that proclamation. Thank you, Mayor Peak.
Next, we're on to council and staff announcements. Mr. Pyrick.
There's no reportable action in closed session.
Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Mayor, we have 3 brief announcements tonight. Thank you. I'd like to first ask Mr. Keel to make an announcement. Mr. Keel, are you with us? I see he has raised his hand. He must need to be promoted. Thank you.
Johnny, I believe you can speak now.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, and City Council.
Sounds like we're having connectivity issues. So why don't I next go to our second announcement from Ms. Wyatt? She can make the announcement that Mr. Keel was going to make as well. Ms. Wyatt, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for letting me be here to let you know that we are having a housing element workshop. And this will be Monday, July 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Pacific Grove Community Center. We'll be talking about the housing we have, the housing we need, and strategies for creating more housing at this meeting. So all are welcome. We hope to see you there. I see John there. So well, maybe if it's okay, try him again.
Sure, Mr. Keel, can we try to have you do your announcement?
Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Tomorrow, the staff will be hosting a community meeting for our first meeting of Parklets at 12 o'clock at City Hall. And one thing to note, we will be tape recording this and posting that on the CDD website. In addition to that, we will have a Parklet, or we'll be presenting at the Traffic Safety Commission on Tuesday at their meeting on Tuesday. So should you want to see that presentation, you could attend that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, Chief Madelon, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, members of the public and city staff. I'd like to announce that we'll be hosting the National Night Out event on August 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m. at Caledonia Park. We would love to see our community members out there. We're going to have at least 18 members of our police department. They're going to be attending, so please come out and meet them. And I appreciate our department heads and city staff that are joining us, our county partners, and our law enforcement partners who are participating. Thank you.
Council announcements. Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Joyce for her 5 years of service. The capital improvement program is such an essential component to our city function and street maintenance, roads, sewers, all those projects that you have worked on and presented throughout the year. I also am well aware how much more you do. So I've really enjoyed working with you and watching your well-deserved promotions and level of responsibility increase over the years. So thank you. Ms. Tama, I wanted to thank you for your service to our community. I had the privilege of working with Tama on the EDC when you wore that hat, which is one of the many hats that you have worn. And then I know Pacific Grove is a better city and community because of your volunteerism. So thank you so much for your service. Our library has free COVID tests available. They are first come, first serve. If your household needs COVID tests, please head to the library and get some. Thank you.
I have a couple of announcements. Well, I also want to echo thanks to Joyce Hallaby for her efforts. Our capital improvement program is extremely important component of our city service to the community. And I recognize that this year we just added a whole lot of projects on, which I assume fall on her desk. So thank you very much for all the efforts that you do in that area. And your 5 years of service. Also want to note, let's see, we have still ongoing a online housing survey. And I think that survey, I'm suggesting that survey be pushed up to the front page. I couldn't find it on the home page. It seems to be buried. So I encourage people who haven't already participated in that online survey to do so. And my last announcement is the pet parade is back, and it is to be held on Friday, July 29th. And the assembly will start at the basketball courts in Caledonia Park. Looking forward to it. 1:30 p.m. Thank you. Okay. All right. Moving on to general public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. We'll do the in-present audience first and then the virtual audience. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Peak. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vince Tuminello, and I'm a PG resident. I want to thank the mayor for his last announcement. I'm so happy that we were able to preserve our famous and enjoyable family-oriented pet parade, which will be held on July 29th. It starts at Caledonia Park. And I know in the past, it's been a wonderful activity, brought out a lot of children, a lot of adults with their pets, most of them, everything from dogs to turtles and hamsters and rabbits and cats, and sometimes a pony even. So I'm so happy that in this lovely community of Pacific Grove, we've been able to continue our heritage, which is that of the last hometown, Butterfly Town, USA. And it's such a welcoming community. I mean, we have such efficient public officials, excellent police department, most of all, fire department, and the residents are so welcoming and friendly and cordial. I think it's so nice that all these years as we've developed, we've been able to maintain that environment, which has attracted so many people from out of town to come here and move here and purchase homes and settle in this area. The only little dubious thing in my mind is that sort of in the back of my mind, kind of a little bit of an annoyance, is that pressure to build approximately 1,100 new residences. It's a little dubious to me how that's really going to be successful, other than people converting their 2-car garages into ADRs, which are, extra affordable family units, hopefully. But with that would come a lot of problems with water, parking, and use of public services and so forth. So I'm still cautious about how that's going to work out. I know that's pushed down on us from Sacramento, and I'm not happy about that. But so much more I'm happy with, including the pet parade. So thank you all for voting for that pet parade. I know it was a close vote, but I'm so happy that it passed. I happened to be at that meeting. So thank you so much. And I will be at the pet parade. I hope I'll see all of you there. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Sally Moore. I don't think it's been noticed anywhere, but I believe children can participate in the parade even without animals. When I first moved here, there was a little boy that wanted to be in so bad and he didn't have a pet. So he put an earwig in a jar and marched with it. So let's encourage everyone to participate. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Andy Kubica, and I'm a resident of Pacific Grove. And I want to thank you, Mayor, City Council, and staff for allowing me to participate here. I want to congratulate Ms. Hallaby on her performance and getting items done on the CIPs. I'm looking forward to the schedule to go with the CIPs for the budget, and also that she could generate for us that would provide us with a start time, a stop time, interim steps. We have several CIP items which are very important this year. They are time critical. They have to be done before the rainy season. We have leaks in several buildings that were funded by staff and by the city. And I'm sure that these RFPs will be going out soon, and we'll see when these can be done before the winter season starts. I'm sure that she'll do an excellent job on that. And let's see. And that's all I have right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from our virtual audience wishing to speak?
No hands are raised. Oh, we do have one. Carmelita Garcia.
Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you all for your service. I just have a few things to mention. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the city for a wonderful 4th of July gathering at Jewel Park. I was really thrilled to see how family and children oriented it was. It was great. Also, I want to congratulate the Pacific Grove Youth Ambassadors and their board of directors, particularly Christine Gruber, for developing a really great leadership program. I have seen them out volunteering at different events. And in my opinion, volunteering is one of the steps that really helps individuals develop and build character. I think it's great that they're hosting the pet parade and also the end of summer dance that will take place at Lucy's. And they're doing a poetry at Jewel Park. I was at City Hall the other day and there is an enormous gull issue going on up there. And the patio area, as well as the other exterior parts of the City Hall really, really need to be cleaned. It's really just a terrible situation. So I hope that that can be addressed. And also, I want to end by encouraging you in whatever time you have remaining as an elected official and those that come back. Once again, I think consideration needs to be made in relaxing the city's ordinances with regard to franchises. I think there are a number of different ways that folks can come into our town, provide services in a way that doesn't shake everybody up because they're a franchise, but I think it has to be considered now. You know, there's going to be a vote on whether or not to have a dispensary here in town. So why not have a vote and let's get a Mayo in town for the kids? I think it'd be a great thing to do for the city. And with that, I wish you all the best and I look forward to more summer events coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other hands are raised, Mr. Mayor. Oh, we do have somebody in the audience.
Welcome.
Hi, Darla Vining here, 785 Bayview Avenue in PG. Just wanted to make a formal announcement here instead of doing it on social media. I'm going to be running for city council this November. Thought I'd make it an official announcement here because I have my 30 signatures and I'm just wrapping up the rest of my paperwork. So hopefully I'll get that in by the end of the week. So Sandra and Carrie will see me. I really would just want to thank Ben for being available and showing his support. I'd really like to thank Luke Coletti for reaching out. And I'd also like to thank the Mayor Salinas. Within 40 hours, she found out that I was running, so I'm thankful for her support as well. Thank you.
Thank you and good luck. We'll now go to the consent agenda. I'd like to pull two items, pull item 6A that's on meeting travel reimbursements and hear that as 12D. And also pull item 9E, special events, to immediately following the consent agenda. Anyone else? Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to pull item 5A, minutes of the July 6th City Council meeting.
All right, let's also hear that immediately following the consent agenda. Okay, any others? Anyone from the audience wishing to pull another agenda, consent agenda item? If not, then may I have a motion to approve?
I'm happy to move. I'm happy to move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
And may we have a vote, please?
Yes, I didn't catch who was that second? Was that Councilmember Smith?
It was a horse race, but let's give it this one to Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Councilmember McAdams? Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio?
Aye.
Councilmembers Coletti?
Aye.
Baduri? And Tomlinson?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the consent agenda as amended.
All right, thank you. Well, I'll just summarize what we just did. We've received reports on the check register for June, as well as core revenue status for June. We've received highlights and minutes from Monterey County Regional Tax Authority and the MST board meeting minutes. We've received summary of new local emergency actions. There were none. We have approved an agreement to partially fund a school resource officer for, let's see, I don't think it has that. And we have authorized an agreement with John Chapman Company for sewer, sanitary sewer maintenance service agreement not to exceed 350,000. We've also approved a change in date for the VW Treffen Car Show, which will now be held July 27th. And we've received minutes from the Beautification and Natural Resources Commission, February and April, and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting minutes from June. All right, now let's do the special events item first, and then we'll do the 5A. Okay, so special events. This was my item, and the reason I pulled it was actually due to my error. The second paragraph in the attached amended special events policy, the second paragraph under purpose was put in inadvertently, my error, right? And it was printed that way. It does not impact at all the amendments that have been proposed tonight. All right, so the amendments proposed tonight were in color, blue and red, and strike through. That's not affected by my error in putting in the attachment. And this special events change in policy, it formalizes what happens if people send in off-cycle or special event applications after the deadline of November 30th. And so it basically says you have to, for those people that want to put in a special events application after November 30th, they have to put it in at least 5 months before their proposed event. And it has to go through all this regular sequence of reviews, staff review, then the rec board review, then council review. And in this case, no, it will have to be a full cost recovery event. So if folks are going to be late, don't ask for city funding for it. Maybe the next year on time, it's okay. Anyhow, that's my summary of the items that are for your consideration. So now, public comment on this item.
No hands online.
All right, seeing none, council comment, Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate these amendments to this policy. I'm curious, though, we've sort of had this discussion before. It's like when these one-offs come to the council, for bike night or a small event, I'm just wondering if, since we're sort of changing the process of the one-offs, do they actually have to come to council? And I know that that's something that we have mentioned in the past, just as far as efficiency and being, aware of staff time. So I'm just curious if that is an amendment to the policy that we would be interested in and moving forward to. Maybe the city manager or city attorney could jump in on that. If we get these one-offs, what's an example of one? The Walk with Pride. So it was a smaller event. It happened to not get on the calendar, and it was brought to the city council, and I think it ended up being sponsored, or it cost like $400, and just all the staff time and boards and commissions times, it just seemed like it would make more sense for those smaller ones to not have to come to council. Obviously, that would be different for the big car show on the golf course, but I'm wondering if we could maybe have a dollar amount, something that would be less than $2,500 could just be streamlined through staff and the recreation board.
Councilmember McAdams, through the mayor, I'd like for Mr. Go and Ms. Howley to comment on this. They're the most familiar, and actually, I think we do have a definition and threshold that's been used before for what is a special event, what's not a special event. So perhaps either Mr. Go or Ms. Howley could comment on that. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Harvey. Councilmember McAdams, through the mayor, the threshold for a special event as noted in the policy is it has to basically be approved and put onto the calendar if it's going to have significant impact to members of the public. So if it's going to have a road closed, a park's going to be taken over for the event in its entirety, like a run where Lovers Point grass area is being completely used, or something to that standpoint, that would qualify as a special event. I think it would be appropriate for us to continue to bring them forward to the city council. That way, if a member of the public had objections or wanted to comment on it, this would be their opportunity. So first the rec board and then the city council. That's truly my opinion, as I've been working through the recreation department for the past 12 years with these special events.
Thank you. And that makes, total sense. So I just know that sometimes we've had events come to council and it's like, why, it just seems not very time efficient, but I understand that. So thank you for cleaning this up and adding the policy that is directly addressing these sort of latecomers. So, and I really appreciate having them be full cost recovery. I think that will have some consideration for the event planners to go, oh, okay, it's just known that there's not going to be city support this time, but perhaps in the future. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
Yeah, just had probably a follow-up comment from Council Member McAdams. So just for example, I just want to throw out another example. What if someone wanted to do a skateboard fundraising event that would happen in about a month? I'm only using that for an example. And let's say it's going to be downtown. So that would go through the Recreation Commission first and then to the council.
Councilmember Emilio, through the mayor, with this new policy, if it was going to happen in a month, we would instantly deny it.
Okay.
But let's theoretically say that it was going to happen in 5 months and it met the parameters of the policy that's being proposed this evening. It sounds like that event would trigger road closures and some level of staff support. So then that would have to go through the proper channels for a special event. Sometimes some events, like Councilmember McAdams was alluding to, that are maybe smaller, can fit under a use permit for a park. And we've done that with smaller events where we can just streamline those through our civic rec program, our online reservation portal through the recreation department. And we'll do events through that portal that are smaller in nature, but anything that has a road closure or needs some level of support from city staff, we would like to get city council blessing before we move forward with those type of activities.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just suggest, say, a fundraiser at Jewel Park, for example, or setting up a booth, and that would be under a permit. That would not be require special event authorization. So, Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you, Mayor. A quick question related to that smaller event. Do we need to capture that smaller event definition in the special events policy, or is that outside of the special events policy altogether?
That would be out, Councilmember Baduri through the mayor, that would be outside of the special event policy because we would look at the application and see where it falls and where it lies. If it's a 2-hour event, like the mayor was saying at Jewel Park, where they're setting up a booth and trying to do a fundraiser, that could fall just like a birthday party, a wedding, or something to that standpoint at the park that would fall under the use permit.
Okay.
Still has the insurance requirements. It still has all of the reservation requirements. It just doesn't have that level of staff support that's needed.
Thank you. And just a follow-up to the policy in here itself. Do you believe so there is some special event applications received after November 30th, right? Is 150 days a lot of time or is it accurate? I mean, do you think 150 days is sufficient? Or should it be 120? Because 5 months is like half the year is almost gone. So you're basically suggesting that it needs to come in the year before or you're basically done. So is 150 an accurate number, just from your perspective?
Councilmember Baduri through the mayor, yes, Joyce and I both had an opportunity to review the policy changes, and we thought that that was a very substantial amount of time to get it through the boards, commission, city council, get it approved, and still have ample time to plan the event. Sure, some are going to be smaller and it's going to be easier, but sometimes we get approached with larger events like a triathlon. I'm going to need a few months to plan that with city staff, event organizers, police department, fire, and so on and so forth. So I do think that that's ample time, and that's just trying to capture all events that could come in.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the details.
How about a motion?
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Council members McAdams,
Aye.
Paduri, and Tomlinson.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we'll now move to item 5A, which is minutes of the July 6th council meeting.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a little bit of house cleaning, I guess. On page 18 of our packet, item 6A from the July 6th meeting was a resolution calling for a November 8th, 2022 municipal election. The resolution that resulted from approval, and that was approved on the consent agenda, resolution 22-033, and I'm just doing this to get it on the record, did not include a member of council that had voted aye and one member who had actually was listed twice. So I believe the city attorney is, has been informed, but I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
Public comment on this item. All right, seeing none, I'll just ask, what action do we need to take? I signed the resolution. It had the error in the council votes. Ms. Kendall?
Thank you, Mayor. The item is being rerouted, it has been corrected and has now been rerouted. We have informed the elections department that we will be providing a corrected and certified copy of a corrected resolution.
Okay.
All right.
I suspect we need a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes, Your Honor.
I'm happy to second that, and I'd like to thank Councilmember Coletti for catching that. It's very important.
May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
No.
Council members Coletti,
Aye.
Paduri, and Tomlinson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 to approve the minutes.
All right. Moving on to item 11A, ordinance amending the salary classification schedule. Ms. Livian?
Hi, good evening. City Clerk, can you put my presentation on the screen, please?
Yes, we will share that.
All right, thank you.
Deputy City Clerk, will you be sharing that? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the public. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. Tonight I'll be discussing the following recommended changes to the salary classification schedule that will encompass the cost of living adjustment or COLA, a market adjustment for some classifications, and then adding a new classification to the salary schedule. Next slide, thank you. As a result of the economic downturn caused by the pandemic, employees took up to a 10% furlough reduction in pay during the 2020-2021 fiscal year. This sacrifice saved the city approximately $634,000 and significantly assisted the city in balancing the budget. It is being recommended that most classifications receive an across-the-board cost of living adjustment of 3% to recognize the economic concessions made, as well as to help offset the rising costs due to inflation. And please note, excluded from the 3% COLA are members of the department head and non-represented management and confidential employee groups whose classifications are recommended to receive a salary market adjustment instead. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Sorry, this is a very busy slide. A lot of information here. Following the completion of negotiations and contract renewals for represented employees in 2020, the department head and the non-represented management and confidential employee groups were to follow with review of their compensation and benefits plan. However, the timing of the review occurred during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the review was subsequently placed on hold. It is being recommended that these classifications in the green in the slide that you're seeing right here represent the department head group, and that they be brought up to 95% of total compensation of the market median of the comparator agencies, and or have equity with similar level classifications. A market adjustment is not needed for the admin services director / assistant city manager and the public works director / deputy city manager. However, a COLA is recommended for these classifications instead, as they did partake in the furlough as well. This slide also summarizes the recommended changes for the police chief, community development director, finance director, human resources director, public works director, city clerk, administrative services director / assistant city manager, public works director / deputy city manager. And you can find a full listing of each classification and the new salary string. It's listed in the ordinance attached to this agenda report, as well as the chart of the current and proposed salary listing. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Also recommended for a market adjustment are classifications from the non-represented management and confidential group listed on the slide as well. This slide summarizes the recommended changes, and a full listing of each classification and the new salary string is listed in the ordinance attached to the agenda report, as well as to the chart that lists the current and proposed salary strings. Next slide, please. Staff is also recommending a new classification to the salary schedule, city clerk / DEI coordinator. DEI stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. This position would support the city council's recently created DEI task force and its policy recommendations. The city clerk currently is participating as a city staff liaison to the DEI task force and has expressed interest in expanding her role. And this new proposed classification will help meet the needs of the city in moving the DEI efforts forward. And then lastly, not listed on the slide, staff is also recommending deleting the community and economic manager classification for the salary schedule. This is kind of cleanup. This is an obsolete position, and if it's needed later in the future, we can always re-add that position. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Council approved the fiscal year 2022-23 budget, which included funding for the COLA and the market adjustments to the salary classification schedule. The estimated cost is $140,000 for the market adjustment and $200,000 for the COLA. And then I just wanted to add, I was reviewing the ordinance tonight for the meeting, and I realized that on the ordinance, it's missing the language to delete the community and economic development manager classification. This was inadvertently not included. It will be included in the second read, and I'll revise the ordinance to reflect that. And this concludes my report. Next slide. And now we can go out to public comment and city discussion. Thank you.
Public comment? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, and residents. My name is Andy Kubica. I'm a resident of Pacific Grove. I have no problem with having well-paid employees. But the city, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it. The city lost $2 million in the last 2 years due to an error in a sales tax. We just passed an emergency sales tax that goes in effect in November. We got ARPA money, and we took half of the ARPA money for salaries, which are one-time monies. And we're giving recurring money that we're going to spend. And I'm trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it for the next several years. We have it for this year. Are we going to take the emergency sales tax money that starts in November that could be used for capital improvements, the infrastructure, and raises at that time? We're using that for our salaries. I did a spot check on a couple salaries. I did not do all of them. I do not know the cities that we're compared to. I do know that we're Central Coast. We're not Bay Area salaries. People cannot commute or will not commute from the Bay Area. It's too far. It's a 3-hour drive from the Bay Area. It's a 2-hour drive coming and going from San Jose here for people who would come to work on a 7 to 3 schedule. People just cannot continue to do that. So we are competing with the people locally. I don't believe we hired, we've lost too many employees here to local governments locally, but we have hired several people from the county. We have hired a person from, I believe, from the city of Monterey and a county. So our salaries are not that uncomparable. When I did a spot check, our salaries were equal to currently or above what other people are paying for specific positions. And I did not do it to every one of these. But I request the city really take a look at who we're being compared to, what the salaries really are. I think the city council and the public deserves to see that information and to know how we're going to pay for us. This salary increase here is around $330,000. That's $3 million over 10 years. Where are we going to get an additional $3 million for 10 years? And in the 3 or 4 years, we're going to do another raise. I just don't understand when we have volunteers doing work at Chautauqua Hall, and we have problems at Chautauqua Hall with water leaks, where we can afford this. We're a small city. We're not like Salinas, where we have large groups of people here and we have a $1 billion budget. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have no callers online.
All right, council discussion on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a hand raised.
Okay,
Inga Lawrence and Doimer.
welcome.
Thank you. I thought my hand was raised before, but then it somehow disappeared, and so I had to raise it again. I want to absolutely second everything that Mr. Andrew Kubica said. It is just so pertinent. We just keep raising and adding steps, and I am completely against this at the top. They're huge raises, and we don't have a way to sustain this unless we take away from what the residents really need, the rest of our capital improvements. Excuse me, I truly agree that I don't know where these comparisons are coming from or when the last salary survey or whatever was done, but I mean, this is just unconscionable. You can't keep bleeding us dry and raising the salaries of the top people, especially. I'm not so much against a COLA raise, but this is just getting out of hand. And taking the ARPA funds for this, that's just unsustainable and unconscionable. So that is definitely a member of the public telling you that it's a bad idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No other hands are raised.
Council discussion. Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe this is actually long overdue, as is mentioned in the agenda item. And the staff had actually taken a salary cut, which we should be thankful for. Secondly, the salary market adjustments were planned to be done in 2019 and were not done. So we're just following up that action. And then finally, I do believe the DEI coordinator is a new role, and I'm appreciative that the staff is actually standing to the occasion and increasing their abilities to take on that new role. I believe it's a good tactic to actually have staff augment their responsibilities rather than hiring a completely brand new role for that position. So it'll help the city in general. So in overall, I'm supportive of this agenda item. Thank you.
Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm wondering if our HR director can explain or know, do you know, as far as the other local jurisdictions in Monterey County, how many of them offer 3% or higher COLA?
Thank you through the mayor, Councilmember McAdams. I don't have that data. However, I am aware that there are, in general, other local agencies that have provided cost of living adjustments recently. I can gather that information for you.
Thank you. And then with regards to this group, the salary increases, it's my understanding that they haven't been really increased or impacted since, is it 2017?
Let's see, the last salary survey was done in 2017. Yes, and then we were.
Okay, so what we're increasing to, that 95% is from 2017, which is 4 years ago is when the salary survey was done?
The salary survey was done recently, but the last salary survey that was completed was in 2017. So the recommended amounts reflect today's market.
Okay. I really appreciate the furlough that our employees took during the pandemic. And I also appreciate how the furlough was an innovative solution. So our city could be really one of the few that didn't terminate a lot of employees. So I am grateful to that. Obviously, with inflation, we have lost a lot of employees, a lot of really good employees, and they're moving on. And so for me, as a city leader, of course, this is a lot of money. But, I actually wish that we could be increasing a little bit more. I mean, if you're looking at a 9% inflation, you're looking at cost of living. Most of our employees don't live in Pacific Grove. They are commuting. We have employees that commute from Hollister, Salinas. I mean, most of them don't even live here. And gas is high. And so I think that, we need to be doing everything we can to make sure that our employees stay, because it's very easy to go and get another job and get paid a lot more than what we're paying. And so I appreciate our employees that have been loyal and that are remaining loyal. And I would encourage my colleagues, we need to make sure that we are keeping and sustaining our employees. So thank you so much. I definitely am in support of this. And I appreciate the public's concern, but we'll hear more from the public when we start losing services or having to offer less services. And that's not something that I want to see. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. Someone mentioned about cost of living. Cost of living is up to 4% in the Bay Area. Social Security is up to 6% right now. I know of another agency that is negotiating over 2 years, 13% increase, and that's local. So I'm in support of this. I think we need to value our employees that we have. I'm totally in support of this motion.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start off with a couple questions for Letitia. So there was a furlough, yes, in fiscal year 2021. And that furlough was for 10% for quarters 1 and 2. Is that correct? So it was basically employees 1 out of 10 days would not be working. So they wouldn't be getting paid. Is that correct?
It was 10% reduction in pay. So there was a day that I believe it was 2 days a month that were basically taken off of work. So a reduction in the work. And then in quarters 3 and 4, that was reduced to 5%. So it was 1 day a month.
So in quarters 1 and 2, 1 out of 10 days was a non-work day. And as a result, you didn't get paid because you didn't work. And then in quarters 3, it was 1 day out of 20, 5%. And on that 1 day you didn't work, so you didn't get paid. But it is my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that only spanned for 3 quarters. Tori, can you maybe let us know whether the furlough ran for the entire year or if it was just the first 3 quarters?
Councilmember Coletti, through the mayor. It was for the full year. It was for 10% for the first half of the year and 5% for the second half of the year.
So there was a furlough in quarter 4?
Yes, there was.
Okay, thank you. So basically as a blended rate, you've got 2 10s and 2 5s over the year. But the purpose of the furlough was to keep people in their jobs. The city of Monterey laid people off. We didn't do that. And because the employees agreed to take days off, 1 day in 10 for the first half, and then 1 day in 20 for the second half of the year, they were able to keep their jobs, which was great. It was a win-win. However, now they're back at their normal pay, their normal salary. They're working full time. They were able to keep their jobs. And the purpose of the furlough has now realized itself. The purpose of the furlough was to keep people in their jobs, not to get a salary increase. It was more fundamental than that. So if we're going to do this with ARPA funds, I'm going to thank Mr. Kubica for pointing out the fact that we're taking one-time money and going to commit ourselves to ongoing salary expenses and associated pension payments and pension obligations. That never gets mentioned or factored in. So we're going to take the day, we're going to say you took a furlough, so we're going to give you a 3% salary raise from one-time funding. I can't support that. What I can support is we can take that ARPA funding and use that as a one-time payment. The furlough was a one-time thing. The payment, 3%, I guess that's the number here, should be a one-time thing as well. So use that ARPA funding to pay a bonus if you want, a restoration fee, whatever you want to call it. But we can't increase salaries using one-time money. when we haven't actually generated new revenue for salaries. And people have mentioned, I've heard it mentioned by staff that we've got a sales tax increase. Nowhere in that sales tax increase that we put out to the voters did it say the money would be used for new salaries. We promised them, infrastructure improvements, et cetera. So I think if we put down salary increases, we may have had a very different vote. So there's two things we're being asked to do here. The first is to compensate for the furlough agreement that the employees took. And again, I thank them, using one-time money for ongoing salary increases. And the second thing is that we're going to actually modify our salary schedule. Now, the salary schedules that exist currently are based on employment agreements that are already in place. And it seems to me we're front running the process for going into the new employment agreements and saying, we're going to give you a raise while we're in your current employment agreement. I think that's wrong. And it also cuts out input from the next council. So I believe there are 2 employment agreements that are coming up next year. Normally you would be negotiating that in the spring. And instead we're talking about implementing it without any negotiation right now. And I don't think that's right. I think we've got employment agreements that exist currently. And just because it's in the budget doesn't mean we need to implement it out of cycle. And I think that's what we're going to be doing here if this gets approved. So I won't support that either. I could support a salary raise and then looking at, this 95% of median. It's not, market median. Of course, the question always becomes, what market are you looking at? But we should be doing that as part of the negotiations, our memos of understanding with our with our various employment groups, which we still have contracts with them. So once we go into negotiating new contracts with them next year, we can talk about changing the salary schedules. But we're preempting that. We're front running it right now without any negotiations. We're going to increase salaries out of contract, out of cycle. And I think that's just wrong. So I would propose that we take the ARPA funding and use it as a one-time payment for employees who took the furlough, and only employees who took the furlough, and then delay the salary increases until next year when we actually open up the agreements again. Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. I think there have been some good points made tonight regarding the cost of salary increases, as well as some of the points Luke just made. I'm looking at the actual, what I've been focused on the last few minutes is, in addition to listening, I've also been looking at this salary chart and looking at some of the numbers. And I think some of these classifications are at a level where it would be nearly impossible to survive in Pacific Grove. So I think that's a consideration I have, is getting people to be able to afford to be here. At some of the higher levels, I'm not so sure about that. And I do see the point of that Luke has made with respect to this is kind of doing employment negotiation without actual negotiation occurring. But given the pandemic and the inflation, and I don't know that there's a quick fix to that, I'm supportive of it tonight, because I think that we need to get there now, just given all what's going on in the world. But I think going along with what Luke had mentioned, in the next negotiation, if I'm still around for it, I'm not going to be super excited about a huge pay increase in the next negotiation, because we're getting 3% right now. So I don't think that is anyone's going to slow down on that just because I'm saying that. I just think that we have to think about how this cost is going to affect everybody. But right now, people need the money against inflation, and it's tough out there right now. So I think that as far as covering the cost, we did receive a sales tax, although I agree that it wasn't necessarily earmarked for salary increases. And, but it is part of our revenues. And we're going to use the revenues how we need to use them. We need to also protect our staff from losing staff. We need to retain folks. So that's another reason that I think it's important. But yes, I can see the point of some have made about 3% at a certain level is more than 3% at another level. And, you know, there's math involved here that's really important to keep our eye on. And so I'm not finished listening to my colleagues tonight, but that's where I'm at. I think that tonight we need to take this action and then all be very vigilant going forward with how we handle our negotiations, how we're budgeting for these types of raises and in the future, because I think this might just be one of those things that arose from COVID, from the pandemic, and now we're coming out of it. And this might be something we're doing because of that, and because of the way it stopped everything for a couple of years. But it's not something that I think we should do often. I think we need to negotiate with our groups regularly and have that be the way which raises occur. So thank you.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I completely support this agenda item and I look forward to passing it so that our employees can get the message that we value them, we appreciate them. I'd like to retain them, and this is a move in the right direction for retaining and recruiting new folks to our city. So I support it. I also remember in our 5-year budget forecast that there is a plan that in the forecast that accounts for these changes. It's not just a one-time thing. And I'd like to ask Ms. Hannah to kind of just reassure me that I'm remembering that correctly. And, you know, yes, the ARPA money is covering it this year, but we will have additional revenues in the outcoming years to continually afford this, this particular salary increase.
Tomlinson through the mayor. One of the things that we will be using to help cover these salaries in the future and which assists us in maintaining a positive fund balance in a time when we're having rising pension costs is the fact that a portion of our pension obligation bond will be expiring next year. And that leaves about $900,000 available for additional city funds. So those could be considered a source of ongoing monies for that because those monies will be freed up. We will no longer be having to pay that as debt service.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. And I don't have any further comments. I support this item as exactly as is. And I thank you to our staff. And I really hope that we can pass this tonight because I think it's something you've worked very hard and have earned.
Thank you, Ms. Livian, for bringing this forward. I guess first question is the across the board, the 3% salary increase that is in the budget. That was in the agenda report. I assume that also in the budget is the 3% for the Police Officers Association as well. It would seem that we are setting a floor here for the POA. Not explicitly, but for all intents and
I can respond to that question, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we have to budget in a what if type manner. We know that the POA is in active negotiations with the city. We assumed that we would reach agreement and the increase to them would be 3%. So we did budget for that.
all right, thank you very much. That was very direct. I want to acknowledge that I'm going to come around and talk to the process. Councilmember Coletti and Smith also talked about it, that we're out of cycle. The MOUs for our two major labor groups, the GEA and the MEA, don't conclude until next June. So we would be renegotiating the salaries, compensation for those groups starting early next year. So this is out of cycle, but I'll come back to that. One comment that was, I just want to throw something out for staff and public. Just remind folks that between last year's adopted budget and this year's adopted budget, the general fund salary expenditures went up $1.4 million, and that is 10%. So if you're thinking, oh, this is 3% across the board, when you look at the bundle of all the salary increases, it's 10%, and that includes increases in the for the pensions as well. 400,000, and also includes increases in healthcare benefits. So it's not 3%. It's much larger than that. And I heard some comments already tonight about salary surveys, the GEA and MEA salary surveys. The last ones we've had were from 2019. Is that right, Ms. Livian?
Yes, that's correct. That's when the last ones were done for GEA and MEA.
Okay, so those are 3 years out of date. And then we have current salary surveys for the unrepresented and department head positions, confidential employees. We have up-to-date salary surveys for those positions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So so we need to get salary surveys, figure out where we are for our General Employees Association and Management Employees Association. I think we can probably assume the salary structures for in those MOUs. I don't think there was any COLA or any structural rise in salaries, right? Since those MOUs were signed. Is that right, in 2020?
So for 2020, for GEA, there were 2 positions that were brought up to market. And also for MEA, there were a couple positions that were brought up to market.
If I may jump in here, the mayor is asking about whether there's been a COLA, I believe. Is that what you're
A structural, across the board structure. No, Ms. Livian answered my question. Was there have been certain positions within those 2 labor groups that have been lifted up, so to speak, but not across the board, right? Okay. So put those facts aside for a second. So I want to step even further back on this process. So what's happened is some time ago, management has developed a set of salary increases for staff. Then they were put in the budget, and then there were comments while getting the budget approved to the public and staff that there were these salary increases. And so council got feedback from staff. Hey, approve the budget because we have our raises are in there. And then we come to this item, which was published 2 weeks ago. Before council had any chance to discuss it, is a set of salary increases across the board for city staff. And so predictably, then the city staff starts reaching out to council going, hey, approve our salary increases. It's already been promised. Here's a report by city management promising these salary increases. So where does that put city council? Promises have already been made to the public, to our city staff. So this process, council should be informed and have input at the beginning of this process. No, we're at the tail end of this process. Promises have been made. And I just can't think that this is a normal way to do things. Anyhow, my recommendation would be for staff to check with other cities and find out if that's the way, this is the sequence that they do it, and also talk to our labor attorney, Donna Williamson from Lieber Cassidy and Whitmore, and ask her, is this the process that is done by other agencies? In this case, it's the sequence. We're the last people to know and get a chance to have a say or approval. Anyhow, that's my concern. What's happened has happened. Let's see. What else? So salary surveys, and those are important. They're the cornerstone of staff compensation. And so we know ones are out of date. So is there a plan? And I believe, Mr. Harvey, I think you or Ms. Hannah said that there was money in the budget to get new salary surveys. Is that right?
Yes, and the process is before we begin negotiations, we always conduct a salary survey for the family of jobs that are represented by that association, so that when we commence, we know whether those classifications are above or below market.
Okay, and we're talking about the GEA and MEA, right? Because we have all this surveys for all the other positions, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and when would you expect to get those surveys?
So I'd have to defer to Ms. Livian. Do you have the MOUs in front of you with the expiration dates, Ms. Livian?
The expiration dates for GEA and MEA are for June of 2023. We'll probably start negotiations at the end of this year. So I expect the salary surveys to be completed either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year when we start the negotiation process.
Okay, and so so if you had the surveys done by the end of this calendar year, then that would probably be in time for the budget, right? For the next fiscal year, and that would be in time for council to have some discussion, right?
If you're suggesting that there's a deferral of the COLA, yes, that would be.
No, I'm just talking about the process going forward, that the salary surveys are done, as Ms. Livian suggested, at the end of this calendar year. Then you'd have the information to digest in time for starting to think about what the budget would be, because that's the start in which the monies get publicized to staff and the public, right?
Sort of, Mr. Mayor. The way the process works, and you'll know this from your time, is we conduct a salary survey before we start negotiations. In general, we always come to the council before, the actual discussion of what's to be negotiated to ask for authority. And so we don't go in there without first coming to you and saying, what can we give? We make a recommendation.
Well, except in this case.
In general, right. This is the first time in my tenure, of nearly 7 years, that we have given a COLA. We haven't in my entire time here, and I'm not aware of many, if any, COLAs given during my predecessor's time either.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got the surveys, and would you redo any of the surveys we currently have, the other surveys? The POA is?
No.
Oh, okay. So I think that would be great to have the surveys and have the discussion with council before they're baked into the budget.
So, I think you're suggesting what we do. Before we begin negotiations with the MEA, let's compartmentalize for the sake of this discussion. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So we're discussing an across-the-board increase that impacts not only represented, but also unrepresented employees. A COLA, right? That's distinct and different from negotiations for a represented group.
Ms. Livian is recommending many different types of salary increases,
So there's-
including and
so-
across the board for those that aren't getting other salary
So
increases.
there are two before you this evening, if I may. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you. There's an across the board increase. And then for the unrepresented management group, which you could consider an association, they are not represented, but they are grouped together and they do informally bargain with the city. That's the unrepresented, management and department heads. We're recommending classification increases because we don't have a cycle of negotiations with them. They don't have an MOU. It doesn't expire. It doesn't, so they're not on any type of cadence. And as Ms. Livian pointed out, this group of employees hasn't, really been looked at as far as where their position sits since 17. So we're coming to you with that as well as the COLA because there is no cycle for them.
Right, I understand that. And I applaud putting them on a cycle and treating them as a group. And so we can have a regular process for all the employee
So
groups.
I'm sorry, I'm going
Sure.
to step in on you again, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. They're not organized. I mean, it's
I know they're not.
it's their choice whether they want to be organized or not. At this time, they've chosen to not be organized. Other cities have their department heads and management employees recognized up to assistant city managers. It happens. I would tell you that I think it's better for the city that we don't have an additional employee association. That's my professional opinion. I think that there's trust with the non-represented management department is that we don't need one, and they obviously feel the same, but they have that right if they want to organize, but they
Well,
haven't.
Well, if they're compensated well enough, then there is probably no need. That was just my opinion. I had a question that was raised by the public about the salary surveys. Salary survey information is public.
That's correct.
And so I'm wondering why don't we release the survey data, our survey data, to the public?
So through Mr. Mayor, that is public information. These all are the ones that we're sharing with council currently are working documents. They're drafts. They can be finalized and they can be released. It's public information.
Okay, great. And then that would answer the question of what are the comparative agencies that we're using.
And we'd be happy to answer that question this evening. If you'd like us to list those agencies, we could certainly do that right
Please.
now. Ms. Livian, would you please recite the comparator agencies in the region the city uses?
Yeah, just give me a brief moment while I grab that list. Okay, so it's the city of Capitola, the city of Carmel by the Sea, city of Hollister, the city of Marina, the city of Monterey, city of Salinas, the city of Santa Cruz, city of Seaside, city of Watsonville, and the county of Monterey.
Thank you very much. So in conclusion, I'm in support of this salary package. I would prefer if I had all my druthers that the across the board the 3% not be sort of baked into the salaries for the GEA and MEA at this time, but be given this year, and then let's see what the salary surveys tell us. I suspect it will be at least 3%. So maybe that's just a matter of formality. It's not going to have any practical account. I'm not hearing council support for just making it a 1 year on that particular topic. So I think we'll just go ahead and support what we've got. But I look forward to having council brought into the discussion of salary increases, not at the tail end of the process, but at the front end. And maybe we ought to talk about this middle of cycle discussion, because this isn't something that, as Mr. Harvey, you pointed out, we've done before. And this was at your initiative, and here we are. So I think that we could do a lot better, and I look forward to seeing some improvement. Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
With the motion. I just to clarify a motion, Ms. Livian, on number 4, you said delete the community development manager classification. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
I make a motion to introduce and hold the first reading of an ordinance to amend the salary classification schedule as outlined with the attachment. Modify the salaries ranges for specified classifications. Add the new classification for city clerk, DEI coordinator. And of course, delete the community economic development manager classification and direct that a summary of the proposed ordinance be published as approved by the city attorney.
Second.
May we have a vote, please?
No.
Discussion on the motion.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. I do believe this is kind of an end run around our oversight responsibility. And a COLA, you can call it a COLA. It's a salary increase. And it's a 3% salary increase for some. And it's a 3% salary increase that the POA, the Police Officers Association, is going to want to see coming to them as well. So I also have a couple questions. On page 126 of our packet, one of the classifications that we're voting on tonight is the finance director. Is that correct? Ms. Livian?
Through the mayor, yes, that is correct. That is a vacant position, and we want to keep the salary schedule intact in terms of the equity amongst all the classifications. If we were to have a future vacancy, say Ms. Hannah won the lottery and she left us, we probably wouldn't be able to fill her position, her current position. We may want to go out for recruitment, and this would help us attract people by keeping the salary intact and in line with the other classifications and salaries.
So why would we be increasing the salary schedule for a position that we're not going to fill?
Yes, through the mayor, it's possible in the future, we could be filling this position, and then we would have the position at a current salary. We don't know, like I just mentioned, Ms. Hannah could possibly leave. We may not be able to fill her position as an example. Hopefully she doesn't leave us anytime soon. And we would want this salary to be at the current market rate so we could attract candidates to the position, as well as keep the salary schedule intact. It would look really awkward if we had a management position that was being paid higher than a director position, as job seekers look at our salary schedule. So there's really no harm at this point in increasing the salary to keep it in line and have the equity with the other positions.
Okay, I don't think it makes sense. And I guess that's also true for the Public Works Director. That position, we're increasing that salary schedule for a position that's not even filled. Is that correct? Okay, I think we do have a little bit of a broken process here. I do feel like this 3% salary increase should be a one-time benefit that we offer, not an ongoing expenditure. And that we should have, this came to us as soon, July 6th, it came to us. It couldn't have come to us sooner after adopting the budget. We didn't really have any time to really understand whether we really want to be doing this. And we've got expectations baked into the cake for our employment agent, our MOUs, as well as with the POA. I think it was bad practice, so I'm not going to be able to support. Thank you, Your Honor.
May we have a vote, please?
I need to interrupt for a minute.
Oh.
What we'll need to do is the first step. So your recommended actions are on page 125 of your agenda. And before you take any of those recommended actions, you should request that I read the title of the ordinance. And after you do that, I'm going to read it and then I'll indicate what the next step would be. So someone needs to ask me to read the title.
Please read the title.
Okay, thank you. Good suggestion. This is ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pacific Grove, amending the classification schedule. Now someone needs to make a motion to waive further reading of the ordinance.
Councilmember Emilio, do you want to go ahead?
You know, I'm sorry, City Attorney, what, I did not hear
I'll
what you just
restate-
said. Yeah.
I'll restate it.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to, if you don't waive further reading of the ordinance, then I have to read this whole ordinance.
Oh,
Which,
okay.
which we will be here for quite a while. Yeah, well,
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Councilmember Coletti's voting in favor.
I'll amend my motion to waive the reading of the ordinance.
Okay, and add to that and to approve the recommended actions.
Yes, and approve the recommended actions. Which I did. Okay.
Maybe we have a vote, please. So the vote would be on both motions.
Well, you're basically making one motion. What you did was you, I read the title, and now that the motion that you have is to waive further reading of the ordinance, so I don't have to read it all, and to approve the recommended actions. That's the motion.
That was my.
So that's what you're voting on?
Yes.
That'll be the end of it after you do that.
Okay, was there anything, so my question was there anything else in this list of 5 recommended actions that's not included in the ordinance?
Well, I mean, if we look at them, I mean, number 5 is to direct a summary of the proposed ordinance. So that's preparing a summary of it, but they're all identified, all the recommended actions are identified on page 125 of the agenda. So that's when I'm suggesting that this motion is to waive for the reading of the ordinance.
Okay.
And to approve the recommended actions as set forth in the agenda.
All right, maybe we have a vote, please. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Councilmember Coletti,
No.
Councilmembers Baduri.
Aye.
Smith
Aye.
and Tomlinson.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
Now move to item 11B, street sweeping services and agreement. Ms. Halby.
Is it on? Oh, there we go. Okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is a street sweeping services agreement and a corresponding ordinance to amend the budget. Next slide, please. Thank you. The recommended action is to authorize an agreement with Accent Clean and Sweep, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $205,200 and a 10% contingency with some options to extend for additional yearly increments. The second action is to introduce and hold a first reading of an ordinance to amend the budget and direct publication of an ordinance summary as approved by the city attorney. A little bit of background: street sweeping services are essential. They help our streets remain clean and free of debris. They're also It's also an essential service as part of our stormwater pollution prevention toolkit because it helps us remove unwanted materials from our roadways and prevents them from entering our storm drains and the bay and the ASBS, the area of special biological significance. Council approved an agreement in 2018 with Accent Clean and Sweep, and it included 3 options to extend for yearly increments. We exercised that last option in fiscal year 21-22. So that led us to an RFP process in June of 2022 to solicit proposals for services for the 22-23 fiscal year. We received a total of 2 proposals. Accent Clean and Sweep was the lowest responsible bidder. And again, they've been doing the services for us since 2018, so they're well qualified to do the work. The work includes regular sweeping of our residential and our commercial roadways. I know it's incredibly hard to see on this slide right here, but the street sweeping schedule is available, cityofpacificgrove.org/street sweeping. It's color coded by area. All of the residential roadways receive sweeping monthly, and the downtown areas are swept weekly. Want to quickly touch on the fiscal impact. Street sweeping services have historically been paid for by the litter abatement fee that we receive by Green Waste, and that is equivalent to 3.9% of the gross receipts. And in the current fiscal year, it's estimated to be just over 197,000. We did budget 159,000 for street sweeping services in the current year, and that was based on our previous service agreement. That was the estimate we used for the current year. We do need an additional 66,000 of funding to accommodate the new cost for service, and the draft ordinance is included in the agenda report. That would amend the budget to allow that. There is sufficient funding to accommodate this adjustment. And then I just want to quickly note that between the first and second read, we will make an update to the signature block that has the outdated city attorney information.
Do we have any public comment? Anyone in the virtual audience?
Nobody online.
None. All right.
Sorry.
Council discussion. Well, Councilmember Coletti.
Ms. Halby, quick question. Where are the street sweepers kept? Are they kept at the corporation yard?
That's correct.
So basically they store the sweepers there and then go out? Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
Thank you. And just to confirm, the Accent Clean and Sweep Incorporated, we've been using them, correct? What I'm reading, right?
Correct.
I
Since
just want you to know
2018.
that when we did have rain, about whatever, how many years ago that was, but where I live on Lincoln Avenue, you know, everything flows downstream. But I want you to know, compliments to the street sweeper. He or she, I think it's a he, that did a tremendous job in Del Monte Park and all over the city. I just wanted to compliment you on that.
Thank you.
Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. I found the map on the website to be very helpful, so thank you for including that in the webpage. And I'm just wondering, are there any tips for our residents to make sure their street is receiving the best outcome on their day of street sweeping?
Yes, as our website indicates, if you do visit cityofpg.org/street sweeping, we encourage folks to move their cars on their street sweeping day. There isn't currently any no parking required on the day that the street sweeping occurs, so they will go around the parked vehicles. So the best outcome is if folks will move their vehicles to allow for street sweeping services.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm happy to make the motion. Sorry.
Why don't you hold a second? Thank you for the report. Where does the street sweeping debris go?
It is encapsulated in the street sweeping equipment and then brought back to the yard and properly disposed of.
And where's that?
I believe it goes back to Green Waste.
Okay. And Mr. Pyrrhic, would you please read the title?
Well, it's a great suggestion. But actually, there's 2 items here on this. The first one is to authorize the agreement. So my recommendation is that you start with a motion to authorize the agreement, and then we'll go to the reading of the title.
Adams.
Sure. So I move we authorize an agreement with Accent Clean and Sweep Incorporated for street sweeping services in an amount not to exceed $205,200 plus a 10% contingency per fiscal year with options to extend for additional yearly increments not to exceed 4 additional years.
Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmembers Tomlinson,
Aye.
Baduri.
Aye.
Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, I can read the title now. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pacific Grove, amending the approved budget for the fiscal year 2022-23. And let me state what I think should be the next motion. And you don't need to repeat what I said. You could just say what the city attorney said. This would be a motion to waive further reading of the ordinance and to introduce the ordinance amending fiscal year 22-23 operating and capital improvements budget and direct publication of an ordinance summary approved by the city attorney.
And that would be my motion.
Second.
A vote, please.
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmembers Coletti,
Aye.
Baduri, and Tomlinson.
So
Aye.
Mayor, I have one other thing to say. I think that on a going forward basis, what we can do to make sure that we check all the right boxes is that when the agenda is being prepared, we can put into the recommendation steps. One of the steps will be to request a reading of the title. That just is a prompt, if you will, and that'll help us to get through this.
Perfect. Thank you. We're now on to item 12A, Cannabis Advisory Ballot Measure. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask the Deputy City Clerk to please bring up the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, thank you. So this item was continued from your July 6th meeting. Here we are with a advisory ballot measure and a tax ballot measure for consideration. Next slide. There was discussion at the July 6th meeting, as the council knows, and during that discussion, direction was given and for the following, which you'll note in your agenda report as indicated by highlight. There is revised by ballot language, both within the advisory measure and the tax ballot measure, and I'm not going to read it. It was what was discussed and it's indicated. The revenue estimate in the ballot language for the tax measure has been modified. It's $300,000. The map has been converted to one that may be included by the county. It's in grayscale. I want to thank Councilmember Coletti for his assistance with that. It is attached to this agenda report. And then there was a desire to consult with CDTFA, which the city attorney did, and there is no action required following his consultation. So with that, I am going to turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
No virtual public comment.
Council discussion? Councilmember Coletti.
What was the results of the CDTFA discussion?
We looked at that and concluded it wasn't necessary to consult with them. I understand that the motivation for that was not to have a problem as had occurred previously, but we did the analysis and there was no need to consult with them based on our analysis.
Any further discussion, or did we sort out everything? Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. I am for bringing this to a vote. I'm definitely for bringing this to a vote to the citizens. But I think as I mentioned last time, there's so many things on the ballot in 2018, everything from propositions to measures. And I'm not going to support this. This should be placed on a special ballot, not buried on 2018. I'm for bringing it to the vote, but I want it to be for myself. I would like to have it brought to a special election. And I also believed in that, bringing the council from 7 to 5 to a special election, but that's where I'm at.
Councilmember Pedori.
I'm ready to make a motion.
And I have a suggestion in that regard. You don't have to read all of, I'm not sure what your practice is because I'm still kind of learning here, but all you need to do is say that you move the recommended actions and you don't have to read all that language that's in there.
I have I'm sorry. I have a
Well, we'll have discussion on the motion, but let's hear Councilmember Pedori.
I move the recommended actions.
second.
Discussion, Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. There on page 163 of our packet, this is the inserted be further resolved, highlighted in yellow. I'm just going to read it. It says, City Council requests that Exhibit A cannabis map dated May 2nd, 2022 be included in the voter guide as an example of the date of the map where cannabis business could be allowed. Should the City Council implement the measure as authorized. I believe we want to change May 2nd, 2022. That's the old color version of the map to July 2022, which can be found on page 167 of the packet, which is dated July 20th, 2022.
I'm good with that.
Second stands.
I had a question about the timing. With approval tonight, is there enough time for this to go to the Monterey County Elections Department for them to review this and then come back to us if they see a problem?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have until August 12th to file measures with the Elections Department. And so what we will do is prepare this, finalize it, route it for signatures. That'll give us plenty of time if we need to come back with any corrections. And they're usually good about reviewing them right away.
Okay, great. Any further discussion? Seeing none, may we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Peduri? Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio?
No.
Council members Coletti?
Aye.
McAdams?
Aye.
Tomlinson?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
It's almost 8 o'clock. Let's take a 10-minute break, resume at 8 o'clock.
I don't know if those of you on Zoom can hear me, but I'm being told there was a power outage. So they're trying to get things back online.
Really?
Hi, Amy. The power went out. We'll be back on in a minute, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks.
And for members of the public, we're just rebooting here in the council chambers, and we appreciate your patience.
Go try the.
Does anybody have an update on ETA to share with the group? I don't know. Jenny, can you hear me?
Councilmember Donaldson, this is Mohammed. We have the systems partially up, but we're working on getting the audio and camera to come up as well. So it might be a few more minutes.
Okay, thanks, Mohammed.